Testing 1, 2, 3. Hey everyone, welcome. Thank you for waiting for us. If you can hear me, just let me know in chat so that we know that our audio is good, and then we'll get started. Testing 1, 2, 3. Hey everyone, welcome. Thank you. All righty. Let me pop this up. And we are all set. Welcome to SEO Fight Club with Kyle and Clint. We got rid of Ted this week. Actually, he's on vacation enjoying life while we're suckers are sitting here behind a computer. So this is episode 29, monetizing the site with ads in 2019. And with that, let's shift it straight over to Kyle.
Hey everyone, welcome. I am the Kyle of Ted, Kyle and Clint. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Clint, Ted is actually in Romania battling vampires.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Him and Buffy.
In unrelated news, avoid the hillside villages outside of Bucharest. We have a great show today. I'm very excited. We have some special guests. Some of the preliminary stuff, if you want to hear more about who we are, feel free to hit our sites. If you're just joining us on episode 29, welcome. We're happy to have you. One thing I want to mention is that Clint has a sister show to SEO Fight Club called SEO This Week. Basically, he boils down 100, 150 articles and what's going on in SEO down to maybe 5 to 10. Clint, what can they expect this week?
Yeah, this week we had 8 articles. The big one is the image SEO. There's a complete checklist to go through that process for optimizing images and why it's important, in particular, in my opinion, for e-commerce. And then I do a complete site audit. Well, yeah, a complete site audit as you can do in an hour show for one of the viewers. Actually turned out pretty good.
Awesome. So that's the link right there to make it easy to get to SEO This Week. I highly recommend it. I watch it and enjoy it. And because I don't have time to go through 150 articles. So as I mentioned, we have some special guests today, Anita Campbell and Leland McFarland of Small Biz Trends. Something that I wanted to mention is that SEO Fight Club, the purpose of the show isn't that Ted, Clint, and I fight each other or that we take opposing sides of a particular issue. What we're fighting are conventional norms. You know, the idea is to think that this is established in SEO or in digital marketing. This is the only way to do it. And why I'm very excited about the guests that we have is that I think one of the norms in SEO is that you can't make any money with ads, that concept was good 10, 15 years ago, but the only way to monetize your site is with affiliate products. And they're, of course, doing affiliate sales is very popular right now. And that's why we wanted to bring on some experts that are actually still monetizing their site with ads, and they've got an amazing presentation. And I don't want to take up any more time because there are a lot of slides to get through. And so welcome, Anita and Leland. Thank you so much for being with us.
Hey, thanks a lot for having us. We're really excited to be here.
Awesome. I think Clint is going to pass things over, and then you've got your slide so you can drive.
Okay.
Yep, you're all set. You can just click on the share and pick your windows and you're good to go.
Okay. Well, I am going to share our presentation. Okay. So let's jump into some introductions. That's me, Anita Campbell. I founded Small Business Trends actually in October of 2003. So it is now going on 16 years and I run it all that time. So I'm based now, I was in Cleveland, Ohio. A lot of people who know me from that area, but I recently moved down to South Florida. So I'm in Naples, Florida now. And so the business is headquartered here. And I'm the sole owner, but I do have a team and we're all a virtual team. And so one of our key people here is Leland McFarland. So Leland, I'm going to have you introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Leland McFarland. I am actually based out on the opposite end of the United States from Anita in Eastern Oregon. Not the pretty green lush, it's very deserty, farmland, irrigated kind of area, rural Oregon, and it's just where I grew up and it's where I live now. But yeah, I take care of all of the technical stuff when it comes to small business trends. And now recently, within the last few years, I've been, heading up ads and taking care of that.
Yeah, so Leland does a lot of great things here, and any of the technical questions, he knows them. So I do want to say one thing to follow along with Kyle's introduction, and that is that we are not professional SEOs, so that's not what we do, but we do rely a lot on SEO. It's extremely important to us. We are publishers. That's what we consider our business, and we make money from ads on our sites and sponsorships. Now, we have a number of sites, and we've had various sites over the years, but the one that that really drives things and that we're best known for is Small Business Trends. So what we talk about today, we're mainly going to talk about as it relates to small business trends.
First, Anita, before you go, your slides aren't showing on the video, so.
Okay. I don't know why that is.
It fits right in with the highly produced show that we present to people.
1 second. Okay. All right. How's that? Better, huh?
Perfect.
I think
Okay,
that.
great. So let me just back up here for a second. So we have a series of questions that we're going to ask, and then we'll answer them. So the first is, really, can you make money if ad sales are declining? Well, this really is, I think, a very much a myth, because ad sales really are not declining. This is a chart from a place called adrevenueindex.ezoic.com, and it starts in September of 2015, and it's showing you the entire industry and the ad rates for the industry. Now, I put the pink line on there just to give you a baseline to show you that going from September 2015 to currently, we have actually seen increases, and some pretty dramatic increases in ad rates. So we had the best fourth quarter in the industry last year, actually the best half of the year last year. And if you see up there where it says Black Friday at that peak up there, that was the best ever. And it was a huge, not just one day, but actually the whole week. It was absolutely amazing, because you can see from up there all the way down to January 1st where it drops down, because there's seasonality in the industry. And one thing I want to say about the seasonality aspect of things is that, we hear a lot from other publishers, and they'll say, oh, my ad rates really dropped. They really dropped since the beginning of the year. Well, if you're in February, your ad rates are going to drop, and that's normal seasonality. And if you're comparing it to Black Friday week, it's going to feel like Armageddon. I mean, it's going to feel like the world has come, you dropped off the edge of the earth. But it's really just seasonality. And so we're very excited about this year. So I just wanted to share that. So now, how do most publishers make money? Well, the majority of publishers are really making their money from ads. So this is a report that we partnered on with a site called State of Digital Publishing. And as you can see, almost 80% are making their money from ads. Now, the percentages add up to more than 100, because many sites have multiple ways of making money. Affiliate is the second most popular way. Subscriptions, unless you have like a niche membership site, or you're a site like the Washington Post that has actual subscribers, that's actually a fairly small percentage. Sponsorships like we do, that's fairly small. And then you can see all the way down to e-commerce, which actually is not very much. Now, I want to say something before we go on, and that is that Google is the 800-pound gorilla in online advertising. And that's something that you really have to keep in mind. If you want to make real money today, you really have to be part of the Google ecosystem. And just like in search, Google really dominates everything today. And I think that'll make a lot more sense as we talk through the rest of this presentation, if you keep that in mind, that they are just the big player here. And there's something else going on in the industry. There's like a real shift, and it's really making a difference. And that is, it's called the move to programmatic advertising. And that means a lot of different things, but for our purposes today, what you need to keep in mind is that it's like stock trading. See, remember how stock trading, if you ever heard about it, used to be like people would actually go to the stock exchange floor and they'd have like little slips of paper and they'd be shouting and sharing, and they'd actually be trading stocks on the stock exchange floor in person. Well, nobody does that today. It's all done electronically. And that's the same thing that's happening in the advertising industry. It's all moving electronically. And because it's moving electronically, Google is really kind of at the center of that world. And they have, just the tools, and they have the demand network, and they have the publishers. So they're really in the center of it. And so just keep that in mind. So with that, I want to talk about ad networks, because most people, if you want to monetize your site, the passive revenue and the easiest way to get revenue is to sign up for ad networks. You sign up for them, you put the ad code in your site, and you can start making money from it. And that's a lot easier actually than selling ads direct, although we'll talk a little bit about that. With that, I'd like to actually turn this slide over to Leland to talk about the two different ecosystems and some of the pros and cons. So Leland?
Yeah. So first off, we have basically the non-Google networks. And one of the most widely known is media.net. And this is a conglomeration between Bing and Yahoo ads. And this company is really, really nice. If you can get in, they do have a threshold that is a little bit higher than Google in getting in. But it's very similar to Google's AdSense, or where you can actually just pop in some code and kind of set it and forget it. The benefits with them also is that you actually have people you can talk to. We've stopped using media.net a long time ago, and I still can't get rid of them. They're very open, and they are willing to actually work with you. I have seen, though, when it comes to media.net, that their earnings are a bit lower than Google and what you can actually make from Google. And aesthetically, I'm not really a fan of their ads. They're not as pretty as Google.
Pretty ugly, actually.
There are other ad networks out there. There are premium ad networks that you can kind of get yourself into. But again, those premium networks have higher qualifications, but there are also other ad networks that aren't maybe as trustworthy, and not really going to be putting you first. So they can be low in quality, they can be high in quality. It kind of just runs the gambit, but you're going to kind of get what you pay for when it comes to those. On the flip side, you have Google, which has Google AdSense, which is easy, low threshold to get in, and they actually pay a decent amount of money. The issues that we've kind of had with Google is you don't have someone to talk to, and they kind of give you vague explanations on why they're hacking half of your funds away.
Leland, what are those minimum thresholds for media.net, the miscellaneous ones in Google?
Off the top of my head, I do not got them. I know that media.net, I remember actually applying for media.net, but it is something to where it's like you got to at least have like 10,000 page views a month or something to that effect. It's with Google. I had a site that had maybe like 10 page views a month, and they allowed me in. With Google, you actually just have to have multiple pages. And the site that I made only had one page, and it was the home page, because it was meant to just keep the person on the page and then get them out into what it was about. It was a t-shirt website, but they said, "Oh, you don't got enough pages," and so I created like terms of service or a privacy policy or whatever, added in miscellaneous fluff, and then after 5 pages, they're like, oh, "Okay, now you're good." But I didn't have that much traffic on the page as it was, and they let me in. With media.net, they do have a little bit of, they just don't want the person with 100 page views per month coming in and bogging down. At least this was a ways back. I don't know if they've relaxed their standards. But with Google, the con with the downside to them is that what we found is that they can be a little vague in, you know, what issues they have with us. And so, for example, and I don't know if we're getting into this later, but with Google, we went from 3 ads to 6 ads, and we doubled our amount of money. And then they cut our money at the end of the month in half and just said invalid traffic. Well, could you elaborate on that? Invalid traffic coming from these ads. These are new ads. Invalid traffic. We never got a clear information or anything like that, and so at that point we kind of had to throw up our hands and go, well.
That really hasn't been my experience with Google. They're really straightforward with everything that we ever see in SEO.
With the Google Ad Exchange, that one is kind of like the top tier. You have to be like Washington Post, kind of side. You got to be a really big player in the game. We've tried getting in, and we even at our level, we couldn't get in. And so we have to kind of piggyback off of someone who is a part of the Google Ad Exchange to be able to access ads from them.
Yeah, you need a partner. So, but that's the one you want to get into, the Google Ad Exchange. And, I mean, love or hate Google. I mean, we were with AdSense since 2004, and there were times when we'd go months and we wouldn't even log in. It was set it and forget it. We really didn't pay any attention to it for a long time, but it just didn't grow with us. So that was the real challenge there, and you just couldn't talk with anyone. So that really is what kind of propelled us to find other solutions. So with that, we talked about some of those ad networks. So let's talk about some of the really bad things that can happen. And when we say this, we don't want to imply that every ad network is bad. There are a lot of them out there. And the problem with a lot of them is that they sort of come and go. They're like fly by night. They pop up and then they go out of business and they come out into another name. And so it's really hard to track these ad networks, but there's some dirty tricks they do that can really cause some problems. So I'll just walk through, Leland, and you can talk to these.
All right. So intrusive video ads, I mean, we've all been on the site, you get in from Facebook usually. Not necessarily through Google, but it's the top 10 useless facts about cheese graters, and they have videos flying up this way and 22 ads you have to climb through in order to be able to get to the fact, and then that's only one of the fact. You have to click the next button and then go through the whole process again.
Yeah, and video ads are some of the worst. And video pre-roll and like mid stream ads and so on in a YouTube video is one thing. What we're talking about is an actual video ad that's in a player that an ad network will come to you and they'll want to put in your site. And they're very, very aggressive with those. They'll start out, oh yeah, just put it here, and then before you know it, they want you to put it on every page, and they want you to put it at the top of the page. And then before you know it, it gets to be autoplay, and then it gets to be auto sound, and then it's popping out on the side as you scroll down. And so really starts to hurt your user metrics, and you ask them, well, how did that happen? Oh, it was a mistake. Anyway, I'll let you get back to it, Leland.
So poor quality ads, sneaky redirects. So starting with the poor quality ads, some of these networks that are smaller, they will attract the ads that oftentimes do the automatic redirects instead of instead of actually just here's an ad, click on it to be able to get redirected. We've run into this a few times to where all of a sudden your users are complaining because they were on your site and then the ad there at the bottom just redirected you without you clicking on an ad or anything like that. And that's something that just really tick off your users and make it to the where they don't come back. The hidden from publisher's IP address. This is a technique where they will show you one thing and then show all of your users another thing, so that you think, oh, well, I only have like 5-6 ads. It looks nice. It does it. And then a user comes on and there's 22 ads.
Yeah, and you have to worry about malware in ads. So, we had that happen where we had a really bad ad, and then you get this big red block notice from Google, people coming to your site. So for 3 days until we sorted that out. So that's what you get with low quality ad networks. Anyways, keep going, Leland.
Sometimes with these lower quality agencies, you get very little data. There's been people who will just send us an email with, okay, you made this much. That's the extent of the data that we would get from them. We would press for more information, and they just say, well, we can't give that to you. And the final one, sometimes these ad networks, once they've gained enough people and they can just do the, well, we'll dump it off. We'll take all of the money that was supposed to go out to the publishers, and then we'll start right back up again under a different name. They're in different countries, so there's little law enforcement can actually do against these kind of companies.
Yeah, we had that once happen to us. So we lost $6,000 by one network that just one day they went out of business, and they're in another country, and that's it. The biggest problem is that it causes your site to go in this downward spiral, because one of the things we've learned is that the quality of the ads really does impact user engagement signals, and that in turn actually really impacts like your search visibility and so on. You really have to play by Google's rules, and they have certain things that they will allow when it comes to ads. And these low quality ad networks that are outside of the Google network, they're often doing things that Google frowns upon, and they can cause problems. So what happens is a publisher will start with an ad network. Looks like it's a good deal for the first month or two. You're like, okay, that's not bad. And then the revenue starts to slide. It happens all the time. And then you respond by saying, oh, gee, we need more revenue. Let's find another ad network. Let's put more ad units in here. Let's get more aggressive. And your site's in this downward spiral. So it's a tricky thing. Okay, well, Leland is our expert on selling ads direct to advertisers. So Leland, tell us about selling ads directly.
Okay, so this can be a bit of a work, because you're trying to kind of appease a happy customer. I mean, they can come in and they can bring in good money. Especially from the bigger companies, but usually the bigger the company, the more hand-holding they're going to need. And so usually you kind of need someone who is, their representative, holding their hand, making sure that they're happy. You're going to need an ad serving tech. We use DFP, which is ad
manager, I think it's called.
Ad manager now. But we deliver our ads through that, as well as through our ad network. They actually provided us some tools to be able to deliver ads through them. An internal process is really useful, because if you have to reinvent the wheel every time a sale comes in, versus, okay, this is our standard sponsored article, this is how we do it. It really helps make the process very smooth. And time. So sometimes these people take years to schmooze. You're going to events and you're seeing them multiple times, and then eventually you've built up such a great relationship that after a couple of years, they're like, yeah, sure, well, let's spend a good amount of money. But it's balancing also too, because you don't want to just give them all of this free coverage, because then the question comes up, why do I need to buy from you if you keep giving me all of this free stuff? and if all of a sudden I buy something from you, are you going to stop giving me free articles?
Yeah.
So it's a very delicate.
What type of event are you going to meet someone like that?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
What type of event? You said you meet them at events and so like what type of events would you meet somebody that would be making these types of purchases?
Yeah, so I would say the best types of events for this are like software companies and vendors that have user conferences. Those are like gold, okay? So go to the big user conferences. There's Dreamforce, and well, that's like the biggest one in the world, I think. But other ones like that, or other general industry conferences, and you need to go where your clients are going. So the ones that they actually go to, and that tends to be the user conferences. And then, we would go like maybe as a member of the media, and, we go around, we talk with everybody, we walk the exhibit floor, we stop and we talk to almost every exhibitor, we take pictures, we put them up on Twitter, we live tweet events and sessions and things like that. And that's kind of the biggest area where you kind of get to know a lot of them. But there are other non-user conferences, like, just general industry events that can be useful. Am I missing anything, Leland?
No. Ones that the events that for media, basically, like, and I've done some with HP where they just bring in people of media, tour their factories and stuff like that, but you get their salespeople right there and you get to talk to them.
Yeah. But, it can take you, a year or two, but then you're getting a six-figure deal. So, it's not a small deal that you're getting, but it's, it takes a long time to put together sometimes. So, but then you have faster deals to put together. And we get almost all of our, I'd say practically 99% of our deals come in through our inbox, our email inbox. And that's why you have to have like a media kit or an advertising center on your site. And you have to be open to being contacted by people. You've got to have ways to reach you. I mean, we even get phone calls. I mean, we have a toll-free number, and Leland will get phone calls from some of these, especially, Fortune 500 type companies. They want to call somebody on the phone. So, okay. I want to talk about something called the Google Certified Publishing Partners. I don't know if you've ever heard of that or how many people have ever heard of that. Honestly, I don't think I had heard about it until we found our partner. I mean, I was just sort of vaguely aware. And so what this is, it's actually a program that started in late 2015. And I think it's key if you really want to get the big time in ad sales, and you're let's say a mid-sized publisher or smaller publishers trying to get to the medium size. And what this is it took the place of certified AdSense partners. And there are only 42, I checked the other day, there are only 42 publishing partners in the world. It is a Google program, so you're going through the Google ecosystem here. But what they are is they have to meet certain requirements, and you talk to, these partners, and each of them have different requirements for their programs, but you have to join basically a partner program. And, like with our partner, you can go to their website and you can actually apply right online. With others, you have to talk with someone, and they all have different criteria. I mean, some of them you might have to be like at, 500,000 visitors a month to get into them. But the partner that we have, I think they're like 15,000 visitors a month. And some of the other networks, are around that 15,000 visitors a month. So it's not for the brand new site. But if you can at least, if you've been around for a year or so and you can get to kind of a steady state, this really is the way to go. And they give you so much technology. We have unbelievable technology when it comes to delivering ads and when it comes to getting analytics. We never knew how much we made on any page of our site before. And even though theoretically you're supposed to be able to do that with AdSense, we ran our AdSense through DFP, and when you do that, we could never get any really good revenue data, and we couldn't, with as many pages in our site, we've got like 25,000 pages in our site, so we couldn't afford to have different ad units set up specifically for different pages. So we had no idea what we made on any given page. We were just kind of blind. And now with the partner, we know that down to the page level. And that has just like opened up everything for us. And that has really allowed us to be much more effective in understanding what to do with SEO. Now we can set goals because we know where we can make more money, and we know which pages we should work on and which topics are better. And we know what affects things on the pages, what makes us more money. And you actually have a human being to talk with, and they really do help you grow revenues. So this is not about our particular partner, and I'm not even trying to push the Google program at all, but I do think it's an important thing if you want to make money today. So I want to tell you a little bit about our story here. So Leland and I are going to talk about this because he was in the middle of this with me, and it's kind of like the best story of our history of our company, I think. It's one of the best ones. So this is actually what we're about to tell you. It's part of a published case study, and our partner, which is called Ezoic, has it on their website. So you can go out and read it. So it's all like public stuff that we're about to tell you. So this is our story of working with a Google certified publishing partner, and ours being Ezoic, that we saw 600% increase over AdSense earnings by going with Ezoic. So now this was an old chart that I happen to have in an old presentation. I'm not trying to hide anything by stopping this at November 18th. It just happened to be something I had. But I want you to look over on the left side of the chart. See where it says testing. See that little green area there? That's about how much money we were making with AdSense. And we decided to give Ezoic a try, and we tested them for about 3 months because we had been burned so many times with ad networks. You know, we told you, being stiffed and not getting paid, and everything else has happened to us. That, it just sounded too good to be true. And I really wasn't thinking about this as the Google certified program. I was thinking about this as like, oh, they're just another ad network. But we decided to try them, and we put 10% of our traffic through Ezoic. And that green area there under testing is what we were making. And that's about equivalent to what we were making on our entire site with AdSense. So that gives you a sense of what you could do with Ezoic. So Leland and I attended their conference called Pubtelligence in New York in February of 2018. Because we wanted to see them in person and really see if they were really real. And we were pretty impressed. And they actually held it at Google offices, if you can believe that. They held it in the Google New York offices. And we were very impressed. And I'll let you carry on the story here at this point, what your reaction was, Leland.
Yeah, we met with them. I kind of just looked at it and I was like, okay, you know what? We were on the fringe of just throwing our ads away because, we were making so little. We were trying so much, with Google AdSense that I just turned to Andy and I said, like, if we're going to toss these, if we were willing to toss these, let's just go both feet in. Let's just do everything that, they recommend. We'll kind of heed their advice and go full force, dive right in. And, that's where you start to see the increase. And, I worked with them over and over again and tested things. And I was even able to get it to 7 times what we were making with Google AdSense. And I should say that that's 7 times after Google had cut because of invalid traffic. So we were just floored by what they were able to do for us. Just like the stark difference. It was like night and day.
And you see ups and downs. We're a business site, so all those valleys there, those are like our weekends, goes down. And you see like holidays, things will go down, and you have a site glitch and just various things like that. But it just kept going up, and it's gone up further than this. And this chart even stopped before Black Friday of 2018, which we were just blown away by what happened. And normally Black Friday doesn't affect us that much. We're a business site, we give business advice. So people are online on Black Friday, but they're usually not on our site. They're buying stuff. But it just raises all the ad rates during that time. And we made double to triple on those days than what we would normally make in ads just during like Black Friday, Cyber Week. But anyway, that's our experience with EZO. I'm not saying that's going to happen to everyone. And you do have to work with them. It's another thing. It's like anything. You can put their code in your site passively and then walk away and never do anything, and you'll get some improvement, but you're not going to get as much improvement. Leland's always working with them. He's always asking questions. He's always tweaking things, and they're always coming out with new things. And the thing about them is they're using artificial intelligence, so they're actually optimizing the ad layouts. Like these days, it used to be in the past, you would set up static ad placements in your site. You might say, well, I'm going to have a leaderboard, and then I'll have one on the sidebar over here, and I might have one over here. Today, the publishers that are making money by dynamically serving ads that change with different visitors. I mean, you have to think like different ad for different visitor, depending on the device they have, which size they're looking in, the browser, where they're coming from. If they come from Facebook, they might come and they might read one article and immediately bounce away. But if they come from a search and it's the right kind of search to the right kind of page, they might want to delve into that topic and read several pages. So you might, you wouldn't necessarily load up the first page with ads. You'd have fewer ads on the first page. You want to get them to click through and read more pages. And then the totality of that gives you more revenue. Whereas with the Facebook once and done visitor, you might have a lot more ads on it. So it's really, it's really a very different world that's evolving out there. And you really do need a partner to do it. I mean, I don't know how we could do that kind of dynamic ad serving and optimizing the ad layouts like they do. So. Okay, now you might say, well, that sounds great. You got you got traffic. We're an old site. We've been around. It'll be 16 years. But what if you're new? Where do you start? Well, I want to go over some things here about this because I think there's a lot of opportunity. Even if you're new, I think you can do a lot these days. So the first thing you have to decide, am I going to build or buy? You're going to build your own site and build it up, or you're going to buy a site. And you can do both. So in the beginning, quantity of content really matters. It's really a numbers game. You got to get a lot of content out there. Now, if you've been around for a while, like we have, we've actually cut back on our new production of content somewhat. We don't need to produce as much. We get better results by going back and fixing our older pages. But if you're new, you have to get a certain mass of content out there. So, you really have to be building it. You either have to write like crazy, or this is where guest bloggers can help. Getting guest bloggers in guest contributors, they can help because you're getting a steady stream of content. If you want to get inexpensive content, like one of the things that I used to do years ago is I'd go out to I think it was Text Broker at the time, and I'd just order a bunch of articles that were didn't cost a lot, but I wouldn't put them up as is. I would use those as rough drafts, and so I would get the draft because it's a lot easier to take something already there and then improve upon it and make it sound like you. So I never published it as is. I would get it, use it as a rough draft, and then I could really improve upon it. So there are a lot of strategies that you can do to try to get content like that. I wouldn't just use other people's RSS feeds or republish other people's posts. I'd create my own content. I'd focus on 500 to 1,000 word pieces. Those I think seem to do pretty well from an ad-based standpoint. And it's a nice trade-off between the cost and the time it takes to build that, and then actually, getting some results from it. So keep focusing on that. And then you have to share everything like crazy on social media. I mean, you have to be a major sharer, and not just sharing once on Twitter. You got to share everything multiple times. So these are some of the accounts that we are using currently that we find get us some good results and actually help us with SEO as well. And that's Twitter for sure. And especially like if you have an older piece and you've improved it, we go out, we take the link, we put it on Twitter again, and it really helps. Flipboard, a lot of publishers today are using Flipboard. They're setting up Flipboard because it will click through to your site, and it gives people Flipboards everywhere, like on Android devices and everything else. Pinterest is really good, and we're not even like in the mommy blogger space or the food space or the fashion space or anything like that. But even for us, people like to bookmark content, and Pinterest lets you click through, and it responds very well to search type techniques. If you're if you're LinkedIn, if you're a B2B, we're playing around with Quora because it allows links, and the jury's a little bit out on that for me. We don't do much with Reddit. We just have never kind of figured it out, but some people do really, really well with Reddit. And bookmarking sites. We actually run our own bookmarking site called BizSugar, which is geared toward just small business content. But in any event, those we find that can really help. Now, another thing is you can buy, and there are a lot of old blogs out there, and that's what I would go after, probably old blogs or old content informational sites, especially ones that have like maybe some longer pages and things like that where you can purchase them cheap, and you can find those all over. But I would go for like smaller ones that are older and maybe somewhat neglected. Maybe the blogger's just gotten tired, lost interest, whatever. You can find these on bookmarking sites. Just go see what they're bookmarking. Go to Growth Hackers. There's a whole bunch of small bookmarking sites like Blog Engage and of course BizSugar like ours. Any of the Plig sites, if you know what Plig is, Pligg. If you can just look for a list of Plig sites, often those are very niche-y type bookmarking sites. And you can find some sites where you can meet up with the bloggers and sort of get to know them, and maybe that'll lead to buying them. Or you can just go to Google and do deep searches. Go to page 7, 8, 9 of Google, see what's ranking really low, and there may be some possibility there. You have to think content first, monetization second, because I often run into publishers and they'll start getting like 50 visitors a day, and they're really thinking about, I got to figure out how much make more from ads, and they're spending all kinds of time trying to figure out the most, the most lucrative AdWords and things like that, or looking for new ad networks. At that point, until you get to about 10,000 visits a month, unique visitors a month, I wouldn't even worry about trying to improve my ad. I'd get AdSense code, I'd stick it in the site, I'd kind of set it and forget it. I'd focus on the content until you get to like some critical mass. And then you can build on it from there, and then you're starting to get to a point where, you can interest one of these, these Google certified publishing partners too. And then you're going to get the best results we have found by far from improving your older pages. And that's why I say, if you're going to buy a blog or something, buy an old one that has lots of content. And if you bring it in, do not delete any of the content. I don't care how bad it is, how awful, how personal, it might seem or whatever. Get it all, keep it, because you're going to see what kinds of queries Google likes that site for. Every site kind of has its own personality, and certain things are going to do well on a certain site. And then once you start to see that, you can work from there. You can build on those. You can go back to some of those older pages. We've gone back to pages where we've practically rewritten almost everything on the page except, maybe a few sentences. We've really improved it. If it's really bad, we will do, just totally almost rewrite it. So that's how I would get started on, if you're just trying to get started and you don't have anything going. Let me stop for a breath there and see if there are any questions.
There is one. It's timely now. You said you share on social networks. Do you use tools like Zapier or IFTTT, or do you have a person that actually goes and custom crafts a post for that platform?
Yeah, so we do all of that. Leland has it set up. Leland, I don't know, what tools do you use? So we have like it set up to automatically tweet out first of all, and then we do
Yeah.
personal stuff.
I kind of use the Twitter API to do automatic Twitter tweet for every article that goes out. Google or Twitter's kind of cracking down on that a little bit, but that's how we kind of just get every tweet out right then and there, and it kind of has a chain reaction. People have auto tweets for our site, and it kind of just starts a chain reaction. But we also have stuff like we use Zoho Social to manage some of our social. What other do we have another tool that we use, Anita?
Yeah, we do. We use Deliberate also for. I use that for my Anita Campbell Twitter handle, which I'm just trying to grow a little bit. And we just do other things. We have a person. We also have a social media manager, and she works 20 hours a week, and she will share things individually as well. And we share things repeatedly too. You have to share more than once and more than in different places. And then we get people on the team to come and retweet or, maybe upvote something that we've shared on LinkedIn or whatever it is. Pinterest, we use group boards, for example. We have our own boards, and we set up each board for like a category, and each category in our site has a type of board, and even within that, we even break it down further to certain specific types of content, and they each are set up on a specific board. But then we have group boards too, and we'll participate with others, or we'll invite others, and so you get other people sharing their stuff too, and those actually can grow quite a bit with Pinterest. Flipboard, we're doing a lot with that too. We create magazines of certain interests. So we have all of our content going out to Flipboard, but then we have people who will take like all of our kidpreneur, like we'll write articles about like, kids and teens under their parents' supervision starting a business. And so we might have like a magazine for kidpreneurs, and then we have a magazine on office organization topics, and we have one on business travel and different things like that. So yeah, it's a combination.
And then the other question, going back to the networks that you choose, do you know of any mobile only networks?
I don't know of any specifically, but I do know that most of them are really, really focused heavily on mobile, since so much is moving to mobile these days. I don't know any, Leland, I don't know if you do any mobile ad networks specifically, but most of them do. They're heavily focused on mobile anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, in our case, our business is such that because we're a business site, we still get a lot of desktop traffic, but everything's going toward mobile.
Yeah. And that catches up with the questions.
All right. Okay, where do most publishers get their traffic? Well, the answer is 80% are getting it from Google. Okay, and that's pretty common across the board. That's based on data, and that's also based on just anecdotal discussions. You really, the one thing I would say to every publisher out there is you really have to learn something about SEO. No matter how hard it seems to you, you're going to have to learn something, and you may have to hire some SEO help, and you may have to use some tools. And I highly recommend doing that, because it's really going to be the key to growing your site. If you figure that 80% of your revenue is going to be based on Google, how could you not do that? Yet I'm always shocked when I talk with other publishers, and some will say to me proudly, "Well, I don't know anything about SEO. I don't worry about that. I just write what I like." And I can appreciate you writing what you like. There are certain things I like, that aren't necessarily the biggest money makers, and I like to write about them too, but you have to be practical. And at the end of the day, if your goal is really to earn money for your family, if it's, you've got a team and you want to do better for your team and do things for them, then you really have to pay attention to this. And I would also say for SEOs, if you're a professional SEO out there, I think this is like a very underserved area of helping publishers with their SEO. There's hardly anything written out there that focuses just on SEO for publishers. And I think that there's a lot that can be done there. Now, I strongly recommend using tools. We use the Yoast plugin. In fact, we sort of run our whole process, our whole editorial process around it. And we have an SEO specialist, Matt. He works 4 hours a day for us because he has a couple of gigs that he does, and he writes Kindle books on the side too. So Matt, is really good at taking our content, and he'll do the on-page optimization. That's kind of all we really do. We don't have a whole lot of time to go beyond on-page, so we attempt to do that. And I will tell you, early on, we didn't even do that. I mean, half of our pages don't even have a meta description in them, our older pages. Half of our pages, half of our images have no like alt tags or anything like that, because we never paid any attention to that. And that's where I think there's a lot of potential to improve, because so many of our pages I know are just very poorly optimized. It's only been in like the last 4 or 5 years that we've really paid any attention to the SEO. We've started using Page Optimizer Pro. That's actually how I got involved in the group, because it was like, oh, wow, it's really exciting. There's a tool to help you do things. And then I would consider Quora advanced. That's probably too advanced for us.
I'll be slipping you that 20 that I promised. The plug.
I love the idea. What you say is, Google's telling you what you need to do for your page. It's all in plain sight, and it's really true. And most publishers have like a wealth of like stuff that they could be, improving. Older content that they could be improving. Seems like I need to speed things up, huh? All right. Does having ads on the page hurt? No, it does not. If you play by Google's rules. If you do these intrusive ads, the bad ads, yeah, that's going to hurt you big time. But if you're playing by the Google rules, it's not. This was done by our partner, Ezoic. They looked at 5,000 sites, which by definition were all ad-supported sites, and how they did in the June core update, and 55% actually gained traffic. So clearly, it's not just the presence of ads that can hurt you. But again, you have to think quality. You have to think the best ads that we can get. So does SEO for ad-supported sites differ? Well, the fundamentals are all the same. I do think it differs in terms of emphasis. Internal linking, I think, is perhaps more powerful, because you have to think about this. A lot of publisher, ad-supported sites tend to be sort of big, sprawling sites. Maybe they're using like a blog sort of format, and they're not the tight, lean, mean site that you might find for like an affiliate site or other types of sites. They tend to have a lot more pages. But I will tell you this also: most publishers don't understand the power of internal linking and do a terrible job at it. So I think there's a lot of potential there. External link building, I think, is very hard, because you tend to be building a lot of content, so you don't have a whole lot of time to go out and build links. And in fact, you're the one being hit up by everyone else who wants to build links. So I think it's kind of hard to do. Long form really is key, because a couple of reasons. It gives you the potential to have a lot more keywords on the page, and when you then go back and look at them, you're going to see what does Google like for your site. What kind of queries does it like? Does it reward you for doing? And that can help lead you to better things. Plus, the longer the page, you can put more ads on the page, especially if they're properly presented and they only they're lazy loaded or something like that, where they only show up as the person scrolls down the page. So that could be really good. You're not interested in conversions as a a publishing site. And one thing to keep in mind too, is at the higher levels, a lot of ads are not pay-per-click ads. So it doesn't depend on somebody clicking through the ad. They are CPM-based ads. So it's all about the impressions, and there's something called viewability. So the user has to actually see the ad and see it for a meaningful period of time. So you want people to stay on your page. You want them to scroll really deep on your page. You want that user engagement. And it also helps you with SEO. We find the more engaging our pages, the better they rank. And we have pages that are, I kid you not, we have pages that are like almost 10,000 words long because they have long, lengthy strings of comments that people really get into. They're asking questions and the author is responding and so on. And some of those pages do really, really well. So it's not about getting a conversion like to get to somebody to a shopping cart or anything like that. It's like, how can we keep you on the page? And so you have to sort of wrap your mind around that. And even your poorly performing pages have value. And so we're going to show you in a minute what we mean by that. And your site structure becomes critical because you think a big sprawling site, it's going to grow. And the faster, the more you grow, the deeper everything gets buried. And then if those pages fall out of the index or there's a problem with them or something, oh man, it's hard to get them surfaced back up. Sometimes all we can do is we just take it and we republish it as a new article if it's an evergreen thing, because it's just buried too deep. You can have a category page that has 200 pages pagination deep, and it's just very hard. Nobody will ever find anything. Okay, Google News, Discover, and Images, are they any value? Google Discover is coming across like gangbusters this year. This actually is our Google Discover. You can see we've gotten some traffic since the beginning of the year. We actually had a spike a couple of weeks ago. It was pretty interesting. This is about 3 days traffic for us, so it's not it's not a game changer, but it's meaningful. I would say past this, after Discover, Google image search is probably next, especially if you're a publisher that has like one image per page. And if you've got thousands of pages, each with an image, you're going to have some meaningful image if you take the time to optimize. Google News is probably, for us, it's third. After this is the special features, the non-regular Google search. So unless you're a true breaking news site like a CNN or something, probably Google News will be down under Google Image and Discover. But you should pay attention. I don't know how you get in Discover. We've sort of racked our brains. All I can say is it tends to be the kind of content that your audience really likes, that they find engaging, and that's the sort of thing that ends up showing up in Discover.
I'm working on cracking that code right now as well, and a lot of it seems to be image-based to me. So when you're saying that you're seeing image traffic and then there's some correlation to this, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, I hope you'll share the answer when you get it, Kyle, because everyone wants to know. All right. Okay, so we measure by something called earnings per thousand visits. So rather than saying how high is the CPM for an ad or something like that, we want to say for every visitor, and for every 1,000 visits that we get, how much do we earn? That's what we really focus on. And that gives us like a sort of a baseline to measure whether we're improving or not. And the way you would back into that number is you would take your monthly earnings, let's say, and you divide them by your monthly visits, and you'll get a number. And then you have to multiply that by 1,000 since it's per 1,000 visits. So in this little example I gave, we got to $17 per 1,000 visits. So if that's your metric, you're going to measure from month to month and see, am I going up? Am I going down? Am I getting more than 17? Am I getting less? Some variation is going to be natural, but you really just want to kind of keep on it generally. I want to show you an example of why you don't want to look at CPM or even RPM. If you look at the top line there, let's say you have one page, you've got one ad on it, it pays $40 per 1,000 CPM, okay? You might think, oh, that's my best page, isn't that great? But the problem is the topic is one where someone comes, they come maybe from Facebook, they read it, they leave, And that's all you've earned is your $40 per thousand. But let's say you have more of a guide approach, more of an in-depth approach, and you set up a guide with multiple pages in your site, and you say, well, how to select the diamond ring. And you're only going to get paid $20 for that page, but then someone visits 2 other pages, and you're making $20 for each of those. Altogether, you're making $60 for that visit. That visitor is worth more to you, and this type of approach in pages is worth more to you than that sort of once and done type of page. So I'm going to go quickly through some of these, but if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them. You can always hit me up outside of this session too. Okay, so what can you do to increase your revenues? Well, you have to improve your old content. And let me give you an example here. A lot of publisher sites have a lot of poorly optimized pages. Let's say you have 10,000 pages, you make 25, you're getting 25 visits on average per page. You're not getting that on every page. You're getting it per, some you get 0, some you get 200. It averages to 25. Maybe you're making $4,250 a month after you calculate what you're earning. But what if you could improve those pages? What if you could lift that average and get it up to $50 on average per visit for, visits per page, okay? So now you're getting this, you've doubled your revenue, okay? Just by improving and better optimizing those old pages. And I will tell you that most publishers have a lot of poorly optimized pages. We really do. And I just told you a few examples of ours about how half of our pages don't even have a meta description, and we've never optimized our images or anything like that. And there's plenty of opportunity to go back and improve things. So I'm going to give you a couple quick examples here. These are real life examples of what we did. This was from 2005, a page. It had dropped way down. It was hardly getting any visits. And last year, around the Christmas break, I spent 2 weeks at the end of the year, and all I did was just like improve pages. And you can see that it went up immediately starting in January. The SEO improved, and all I did was some of the basics, some of the things that you would find in like POP. I wrote some H2s and H3s because our older content, we never used H2s, H3s, H anything other than the H1 on the page, nothing like that. So I did that, wrote a couple extra paragraphs of content, with specific keywords in mind, wrote a meta description, put an image in there, optimized the image a little bit, just the basics like that. And it had, a really nice impact. This is never going to be a high earning page, but here I was able to rescue a 14-year-old page and get it up to 160 visits a month. This is a page had dropped out of the index, and all we did was internally link to it at one point. That immediately brought it back, and then we improved it again after it started sliding. And again, just basic improvements. And this one's getting us 2,700 visits a month. Now here's another one from 2006, completely dropped out of the index. I think it was broken at one point, the page, something went wrong. 1 hour of work this March. And what I did this time was, since it wasn't even in the index, I just republished a brand new post after I improved it. It was on an evergreen topic, and it's a very popular topic. And, so far we've only gotten to position 6. 75 visits per month. We had a flurry of traffic the first month, but after it settles down, you're looking at mostly search traffic at that point. I think we can do even better. We might be able to get this one to like 400 visits a month. If I go back, maybe I'll run it through POP and see what we can do there. But those are just some examples. And the point here is that we look at this like a portfolio, like a stock portfolio. And we say, okay, you don't have to improve every page. We're still going to have dogs in our site. We're still going to have pages that are like terrible. And we're going to have some real winners in our site. We do have some of those. I mean, we have pages that get a lot of traffic every month. I mean, 5-figure traffic. But then, you got a lot of thousands and thousands of average to low average performers, And if you can just get some of those dogs to improve a little bit, you gradually raise the average of your site, and you're raising your average total return, just like the stock portfolio. Okay, some do's and don'ts. Do's. To SEO people, this is probably like, oh yeah, this is like really basic stuff. I can tell you that most publishers don't do any of this stuff. Or just learning about this, but you've got to fix broken stuff in your site. And if you have an old site, you got stuff that's broken and you don't even realize it. Old video embeds, a plugin that you no longer use that left broken pages behind. I mean, you name it, you've got it in there. And there's probably a lot of stuff that dropped out of the Google index you don't even realize, because as a publisher, you don't pay any attention to any of that stuff. And so you've got to find some way to do that. Hire an SEO to do an audit, and point out what needs to be done and help you fix it. Or we use SEMrush, and we use their little audit tool. Leland has it set up to run every Saturday, and it runs and it tells us things. And then we look at it and we like break it down and we give it to people on the team, and we give it to like one person. We say, okay, all these video embeds are bad, please go fix these. And all of these images are broken, we need you to fix these. And just gradually we get through it. Improve your existing content that's in positions 4 to 20, because those are the ones that have the potential to move up, and you can get more traffic. And we see traffic improvements like almost immediately. I mean, within a couple of days, you can start seeing traffic improvements. Don't forget, if you have a cache like we do, we cache our content. You have to clear the cache. So Leland will do that for us. We go out on social media. You got to go out and share those old pieces that you fixed. And there's something else, Leland, I'm going to have you talk about date modified.
So within the schema markup, we use date modify to tell Google, hey, this article has been changed. So when it comes in and indexes, updates the index, it can go, oh, something has changed, instead of kind of deducing it based off of past information.
Yeah. Link to other pages in your site. This is so important. And, again, this is something until a few years ago, we didn't even really think about that. Honestly, we didn't. Go heavy on evergreen and long form, because that's where you'll get your best return for an ad-based site, for some of the reasons we talked about here. Create content types that attract links. So you can back into this, go to your, run some kind of report that shows you your most linked pages. Like in SEMrush, it will do that. But there are a variety of places you can find that information. And then look at those that have the most inbound links to those pages and see if you can spot patterns, because we'll spot patterns. We might say, oh, this type of article gets a lot more links. So some types of articles that tend to get a lot of links are if you do any kind of community roundup where you're linking out to other websites, if you do any kind of research or statistics, that helps. Long list posts that people want to refer back to for, later reference, those things help. Infographics sometimes can help if it's a good infographic. So, you just really have to find for your site what works the best and do more of those, because that's going to be your best way to do links if you have limited time and you don't have any ability to do any link outreach. Share everything on social media. It's like really important. And let's just talk about don'ts for publishers. We see this all the time. It drives Leland and me crazy. The broken links that we have to check because, people just change their URLs. It's crazy. And they don't redirect them. And this is everything from going from HTTP to HTTPS to changing your domain name to getting rid of dates in your URLs. And we see it all the time. We see people just delete years worth of content out of their site, and they don't realize they're destroying their backlink structure and they're destroying their internal linking structure. It's terrible. Create content with keywords in mind. Do not start without a keyword in mind. Trust me, most publishers don't start that way. They just think of a topic and they have no keyword in mind at all. And so they're sort of rudderless in creating content. Certain content advertisers block, legalize marijuana, anything alcohol, tobacco, firearms, anything sex related. A lot of advertisers will just block those and you can't monetize them. Guest contributors, once you grow to a certain size, they start to be a liability. And like a little dirty secret is a lot of publishers will get a penalty for their outbound linking because of guest contributors going crazy. And so this can get to be a problem. And don't be aggressive with AdSense policies, because if you get banned by AdSense, you've really cut out like 80% of the advertising market. Okay, thanks for bearing with me as I went through that there, but that is, essentially what we had to say.
Anita, that was amazing. Absolutely amazing. I learned a new word, plig.
It's an old CMS. It's no longer supported really, but it kind of had that old dig. You share something, kind of Reddit-ish type style.
Something that you said resonated. We had Matt Diggity on a couple months ago, and he talked about buying sites for affiliate purpose that were, you as an expert could look at it and say, oh, I can improve that. And it sounds like it's a strategy that you're also recommending, basically finding those older blogs that have a lot of pages. And if you're an SEO and know what you're doing, it's the kind of thing that you could spruce it up a little bit and add it to your site portfolio and get AdSense and ad revenue going. That makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally think that, if you're trying to, just get started and you don't have the time to write a lot of content, or maybe you don't have the capacity or whatever, you can always buy and improve. And SEOs are perfectly positioned to do that because you understand what to do, and
Clinton, I think there are 2 questions, is that right, that we haven't gotten to?
Yeah, one is from Matt, and he said you referred to buying or purchasing old blogs. Do you purchase the blog and then reuse the content on that site, or are you 301ing it, or are you just taking the content from the blog that you bought?
well, you can do either, but I think that if you can get the domain that it's on, I think it's better to just kind of keep it there so you don't have to be messing with anything. I wouldn't, would try not to disturb it as much as possible, and just do that gradually. So that's what I would do.
Okay, and then the next one was content writers. I think you glazed over this a little bit, but the question was, you're using freelancers or you have full-time staff?
We have both. So our editors are there, they work for us and they run it. We have an executive editor and assistant editor. I've worked with Sean for many, many years, our executive editor. And they're both from the newspaper industry, so they know editing inside and out. And then they go out and they find freelance writers. So, and we're always looking for other writers, freelance writers, and so on. But we're kind of looking for those who can do like a lot of volume, who have maybe journalistic training. That helps a lot. They can conduct interviews. We can give them something and say, can you go out and interview this person and get some tips so you can put them in an article, kind of thing. And not everyone can do that. It takes a little skill.
Makes sense. And I think that's it. Yeah, the other questions you already answered through the course of your presentation. So, yep, that's it, Kyle.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, guys. Thank you so much for spending this time with us and sharing your knowledge and your experience. That what I really enjoyed about this presentation is that it wasn't all peaches and cream. There's a lot more to it. That there's a lot of highs and lows and ups and downs, and that's what business is all about. Before, I think you guys mentioned there were times when you were thinking about just scrapping the whole thing, and I think we all go through that. And to see that you've gone through that struggle, but then also were able to come out on the other side and not just do it well, but really, really succeed is awesome. So thanks again for coming on.
For having us.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Anything else we need to sign off, Clint?
No, I think we're good. Just one last update. Do you have the update for the new platform?
Oh yeah, we're gonna make an announcement in CorePop in the next day or so, and start shifting people over from the Skype group into the beta platform. It's a little buggy, but we just got to go with it.
Yeah, I think we've been using it for a week, just talking to each other, and it's been pretty cool. So I like it.
All right. Yeah. Well, look for that announcement in the CorePop group in the next little bit, next day or so.
Sweet.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye, everybody.